Oh, aren't they lovely? Ugh. Hello there, commanders. This is Throatsaw. I'm going to show you today my post-Human Republic army for Hawk Wargames Dropzone Commander game I've been playing. A couple of years, first army that I chose to play. Saw an amazing stall at a show and a friend introduced me and I was hooked. So on to the army. This is my first command unit. It's a special dropship now. I think it was a show only one. It's Aegeon, I think it's called. It's a Neptune. It's a Neptune medium dropship, but with a special model attached to it. And doesn't it look amazing with a big fan in the middle there? I really like that. No modeller me, sadly. No great artist, so apologies for that. But it's just the models I play with. That's a Zeus command walker there with its amazing shield, 3+ up passive save. And an Odin that it's got to bodyguard it, give it some more firepower as well. Again, another heavy walker, 2 big rail guns on it. Can pass on its save to the Zeus to take for it, or it can just take its normal passive save and act as a little bit of a meat shield for the Zeus as well. So that's to say my first command. Then on to this, which is Beerus. It's a heavy walker. Giant Scorpion of Death, which I'm a big fan of, the models. He's very expensive though. I sometimes use him as a Nemesis walker as well. But aren't the models impressive? Beautiful, beautiful models. So well done Hawk for bringing that one out. As I say, it's the carriage of Beerus, the special character, who loves heavy stuff, hates light stuff, and then makes other heavy stuff cheaper, which is great. And I've got a Poseidon heavy dropship for him, a little bit expensive, perhaps for combat. Maybe just walk him on at the to the table at the beginning of the battle. But you know, sometimes it's good to have the flexibility of the dropship. Then on to the third command option that I have is the Hera. Jocasta Kane is one of them, and I sometimes use it just as a Hera. Heavy jump walker, 3 points of damage each, which is really good. 2 strength 10 rail guns, which is quite low, but it's good. You've got 2 of them. That's okay, isn't it? And they jump about, flying about everywhere. They'd be really hard for an enemy to pin down. Don't get them caught by enemy anti-air. Don't do that thing. But generally, they're really good. They've got evasion countermeasures too, so they are hard to hit. But really fun. I'm using these a lot recently. They're a bit cheaper than the other command options. Because although they have to walk on at the beginning, they get really fast, really quick into the game, do a lot of damage, really project themselves into an enemy area. And as I say, I think they're probably the cheapest command option that you get, which is pretty good. So then on to the armoured core of the army. This is the Phobos, 2 sets of 2 Phobos. Today I've got them in a Nord, which is our relatively new gunship. Thank you to Hawk for giving us a gunship. I appreciate that myself, having not had one before. Very expensive gunship, 110 points, but a lot of commanders, I think, are making the decision that these are worth those points, and I am seeing them in a lot of armies because they can put down this anti-air, and then that unit, you know, that battle group has got a good anti-air ability, and it can throw out 4 strength 10 hits, plus its normal stealth missiles of strength 7 shape charge. That's quite effective. That's quite a nice little battle group. It's a bit expensive, but very flexible. And when you look at it, it's a lot of hit points overall, and it throws out a lot of lead. So I guess that's good. So on to the next armoured core, the Ares, basic tank, I guess, basic walker. Underrated. I don't see these a lot in armies nowadays, which is a pity, because I do like them, but I have trouble, I admit, finding points in an army for them. So I perhaps am guilty of not using them a lot as well. I did use them recently, and they were effective when I used them. Is the word cheap to fit into an army, but not that cheap really. They only get one gun, but it's strength 11, and it's very hard to modify the to hit of it. So skimmers, I think, don't impose all of their skimmer penalty to enemy shooting when an Ares is shooting at them. I think it's only +1 to hit. I've got Neptunes to bring those in today. I've been arbitrary about the transport, just put them out for show today. I intermingle them when I choose army lists, of course. So there we go. So there's the armoured core. The Phobos also as well. Again, maybe a little bit underused nowadays because they're quite expensive compared to things like the Helios anti-air tank. I still like them. They're very tough. They've got a long range on their gun too, and their guns are of a high strength 7, which is pretty good. So I still use them. But there are a lot of people using other kinds of anti-air now, which you understand. You understand why. So on to the Infantry Phalanx. Here you see essentially a lot of infantry. 8 stands of Immortals, pretty good all-rounders. They don't win a lot of combats though, to be honest. Whenever I put them into combat, they generally die because everyone else is using elite type infantry. And I find with the PHR list, you're really scrambling for points. And it's very difficult to fit in a lot of infantry in a PHR army. So there they are. There they've got their Junos. Again, I love the models. I love what Junos do with their gun. But, again, very difficult with the points I've got to put these in an army. So they rarely get used, I admit. And I'd love to use APCs. I think they're really good. The mechanics for using them in the game. I understand in the second edition there's going to be upgrades there. What influence an APC and armed personnel carrier has on a battle. It's just, I don't know if I can fit them in the darn army list with the points I've got. So, hey-ho, I will try. I'll stop whinging and I will have a go, I'm sure, in the future. So say Neptunes to bring those in today. They get stuffed in a Triton and sent off to just pick up objectives. And that's what they are really for me. They're kind of carrier pigeons. They go and pick things up and bring them back to base. That's what I choose them for. Slightly elite infantry, still in the Immortals Phalanx though, in the core infantry group. Immortal long reach, lots of anti-material rifles. These guys get 1 anti-material rifle per base, which is good, and they can do anti-air, which is great. I got CQB2, which is alright, it's okay. Maybe I'm underrating them. But these guys just get all anti-material rifles, long, kind of Barrett 80 type. 50 caliber, I guess, would be what they would be today. I don't know. Sniping rifles, and they can take out vehicles. I think they've got shape charge, so that's quite good. And there's a lot of them. 10 shots per group. So you're going to get a 6 hopefully, and do some damage to even a vehicle with that. I think they can all cover, so they absolutely mince any infantry which is foolish enough to go to the wall in their sight, and they'll take that apart. There we have them in Triton dropships as well. Get them in early. Then onto the heavy phalanx, the heavy group. We've got the only thing that is better than a Hades, which is 2 Hades. Is that naughty of me? I don't know. They're really good. They've got a lot of things that they can do. You can see the big rail repeater on the back, which can strafe, and it's a strength 12 gun. You've got the kind of anti-infantry, anti-light vehicle minigun mandible cannon there, which are really cool. Not amazing. Strength 6 is okay, but lots of shots, and utilitarian. Very useful. Allows you to engage other types of unit. And then you've got the rather amazing nano machine hives on the back there, which are great. I love these. Very atmospheric, very PHR. And they disgorge clouds of drones. You can have white ones which actually can repair damage to friendly units, or black nano machines which act as a kind of artillery piece. They'll descend on an enemy formation and eat it alive, which is stunning, isn't it? I love that. So a lot of flexibility in a Hades. You can use it to aid your own troops, and you can use it to do a lot of damage to a lot of different units. Each of these guns can attack different targets, and indeed that strafing weapon there can attack more than one target itself. It's close enough. Pretty good. 205 points though. My goodness, you pay for it. Maybe that's the correct price for them. Maybe it's a bit expensive. I have trouble putting them in a lot of army lists, but I manage, I think what tips it for me is really I can afford that in an army list, but I can't really afford the Poseidon dropship to carry it. So it ends up coming on and strolling, and at 4 inches a turn, which is not a lot but more than a lot of my other walkers, it can get to the centre of the table by the end of the game. So that's how I tend to use them. But it would be lovely to be able to afford a dropship to put them on, but that's close to 300 points. That's a fifth of your army, which, though they're very tough in that they've got, I think, 8 damage points each, they're only armor 9, so they can get doubled up by so many units now that if you're not careful and you don't use them properly, you don't hide them behind buildings and take cover, etc., they get killed. They get killed very quickly, and there's your 205, 300 points worth of battle group gone. So I do use them. I use them very carefully, but very expensive, and I just walk them on. And hey, with a model like that, why wouldn't you use it? You'd have to use it every so often just because you'd want to wheel that baby out onto the table. So next is my next heavy unit, which essentially is type 2. Are they type 2? Type 2 walkers. I've got Hyperion, an Odin, which is essentially the pair for the one over there in my command unit, and 2 Enyo. Now, these used to go together with the 2 at the end, and used to be a big Death Star unit, but I found that not very flexible and a lot of points to put in one place. So what I do nowadays is I'll just intermingle them. Sometimes I'll put Hyperion in the command unit because it's a bit cheaper and gives you a lot of range. It's got an infinite range to its gun, I think. Or I might keep the Odin and have 2 Enyos for building demolition and a different heavy unit, different heavy choice. I might do that. So a bit more flexibility nowadays. Also, I think the nature of the game's changed. More flexibility is needed, more speed with scenarios where you just have objectives scattered all over the board, even in the streets. It's actually useful to have more a unit that can be split up into 2, so it can go and search 2 different areas. So that's my rationale. That's why I do it. Then on to my last heavy choice, which is the Tyrannus stroke Thor. I've got the bits for both. These are the essentially multiple launch missile systems, ML. RS, is that what they call it? MLRS? I can't remember. Got my acronym wrong there. I'll probably put that up when I edit. Yes, these are the Tyrannus, which are a demolisher. A demolisher missile tank, indirect fire. They can either do a lot of damage or very little at all. I think Hawk Dave, in a recent Beasts of War interview, has stated that this is a unit. He just used it as an example. He wasn't picking on this particular unit. Isn't played a lot nowadays, so he's going to use it as an example of, in the second edition that's going to be out hopefully in the last quarter of this year. He wants to make every unit playable. That's the promise. That's the intent of the second edition, is to make them all playable, which I think is great. I'm down with that. That's always what I've wanted from Wargames, is to have everything playable and nothing too powerful as well. So I should be able to bring a load of different stuff and have a chance of winning against someone else that's just bought a load of stuff, and that would be great, wouldn't it? So I think that's where Dave's coming from. I think this game's pretty much like that anyway, but this is something that he's really going for in the next edition. So he's promised that Tyrannus, among others, will be either restatted or repointed so that they're usable again, which is great. Then we've got the Thor, which is again an indirect fire tank, which throws lots of missiles, but I think they throw barrage. They use the barrage rule. So again, I've got the bits for each, so you can have 4 Thor or 4 Tyrannus. Barrage, I've seen these used very well recently by Warlord Craig and Daniel up in Stockport. Better than I use them, certainly. And I think they just have the ability to attack buildings, yes. Tyrannus may do that better, but they can also attack units of tanks and infantry, etc., in a more efficient way. So they're a little bit more of an all-rounder, the barrage. So yeah, really good, really good. So that is the first part, and I'm going to go on next to the support choices in the army. And so on to the support choices for the post-Human Republic army. You'll notice a lot of Apollo Strike Walkers. There's a lot of them, aren't there? I don't quite know what I was doing at the time. I think I got overjoyed and overexcited when they first came out. And I admit it, I bought 8 of them. No, I don't. Yeah. Though, silly though it may seem, I have actually used them in an army once or twice, and they did okay. Split them up into 2 groups, or whatever. I had a group of 6 as well at one point, and they just went everywhere. They caused merry heck. They're very difficult for enemies to pin down. Their gun's a bit weedy at strength 10, which is as good as anyone else's, but for PHR, obviously, we want a bigger gun, don't you? I think that's part of our, probably a bit of a complex that we've got. But they are great. Strength 10 is enough to damage anything with enough of it, and there is enough of it with this type of unit. You can place this unit where you want to almost. You've got to be careful of anti-air fire, because when these guys are jumping, they're flying. They turn into a flying mode when they're going faster than their basic move rate, which I think is 6 or 12. When they go 24 or 20, I can't remember exactly how fast they go. Their air units and anti-air units can engage them, which is quite funny, so you have to be careful. But other than that, you can put them where you like. And what it allows you to do, really, for me, is engage what you want to in however you want to do it. So you can hide from ground units by running away, or you can take out anti-air units by just running up and having them and not using their jump. Just run them quickly. So it allows you to engage what you want to in the mode that you want to engage them. And as I say, I have used them all together before, and they worked out okay. So perhaps my beginning madness actually paid off. So that's the first set of support units, and more contemporary armies that I have. I do put a couple of them in. I think for 40 points a model, they're actually really good. You don't really need to dropship for them that much. Walk them on the first turn, and then off they hop, off they jump, and they do great. They're also great for zipping about and picking up objectives for scenarios where objectives are just in the street and they're not in buildings. Really good for finding things. So I like them. I like these fast walkers, and as I say, one of my favourite command units is the Heras as well. So they work well in conjunction with them. So on to my next support unit, which are these funny little things. Erebus. I love these. I don't see these used very often. I like walker like that. No jump pack as such, no jump jets, but they've got these funny shields on the side there, which are actually ECM emitters, I would presume. And when you go near them, it makes it harder to hit. You can impose up to a +3 on your to hit requirement if you're close enough, within about 3 inches. But even if you're within 12 inches of these guys, you're at +1 to hit. That's really annoying. Gives you great cover if you want to do a wild weasel, if you want to use air, a gunship or some sort of, or move something by air, a dropship by air. Stick these guys near the enemy anti-air, and it covers your movement, which is really good. Also, if you can get them into the same army as, say, a really heavy walker like a giant scorpion Hades of Death, they often get hunted, as I've mentioned earlier. They get hunted down and killed. Well, stick some Erebus near to those hunter-killer units, and it will hopefully increase the survivability of your more expensive unit. You'll lose these guys. However, it's harder to hit them, isn't it? They've got their own protection. They also come with, well, you've got the choice of a strength 10 gun, or you can just use them for what they're designed for, just for the ECM really, and just arm them with a machine gun. They're even cheaper. These ones really, I believe you need a Neptune for these. This is probably the unit for which you most need drop ships in the whole army, apart from maybe infantry. Because you need to get them close to an enemy unit, don't you, to make them most effective. So there you go. Then we've got kind of a new addition. You'll notice in my main armour units, I don't have menshets because they're a bit. I could never really fit them in an army and justify the points for something with such a short range. And then I'd drop them, and then the enemy would take out the dropship because I'm in their territory, flaming one of their buildings, and then they were just stuck there. These guys, they've just made them more flexible. Hawk have given them an anti-tank missile as well, So I think the flame's quite long range as well, but I'm not sure on that one. But they've definitely got this cool anti-air missile. It's limited. So you can only use 2 each a game, but they're strength 11, devastator 2. Oh my goodness, they can kill a heavy tank in one shot. That's pretty good, isn't it? Isn't it, Commanders? I think it is. Again, you probably need them in a dropship to get them to where they need to go. They are becoming, for me, close to an auto tank now. I put them in a lot of armies because they do shred infantry in buildings. They've got this secondary thing, so if their dropship's taken out, they can still do something. They're still useful. Those points are not wasted because I can just hide them behind a building, put them in cover, and just pop out every so often and throw a devastating missile at something really annoying for the enemy. So yeah, really A2s I think they are. I think they're Mentia A2s is their designation. So thank you to Hawk for giving us that slight upgrade and rebalance to a model. Would I love to see these guys one day enter the normal armour area so they can take them as that choice? Maybe, but you know, they're getting into armies pretty much on the current army structure. So on to some skimmers now. Helios skimmers. Now these are very popular in the game at the moment. Loads of people I've been playing with are using these, and they're pretty much the Phobos has fallen out of fashion. The Helios, its ability to skim and therefore make it hard to hit them by the enemy. They're massive firepower. I think they throw out 6 missiles each a turn. They're lower strength than the Phobos. The Phobos is strength 7. I think they're strength 6 missiles for the Helios. But there are a lot of them, and that tends to make up for it. And there are 2 of them. That's 12 anti-air shots in reaction per turn, or just go and hunt and kill. If there's an enemy dropship that you don't like the look of, just move them 6 inches, and you've got a 24-inch threat range there. That's a lot. That's a lot. So they really do a lot of damage to enemy dropships. You can even, I've had places where I've just used one of them to kill a whole enemy dropship, and then you've still got one for reaction fire. Now, that's a bit of a gamble, isn't it, Commanders? Obviously, as we know in our doctrines and our commandery colleges and our spawning pools of teaching, that you just kill. If you can throw as much lead as you can to kill something, you tend to do it. But I have taken that chance. I've used one of them for killing things, and then one of them for staying on point to react to enemy movements. So, that's the thing, I guess. So 4 of those, again, big armies, 2,000 point armies, all 4 of those get taken. Some 1,500 point armies, sometimes all 4 of them will get taken. But I, as I say, still am a fan. If my perfect, I'd like 2 of those and 2 of those. That's perfect for me. I'd love more AA in army, but really, with the points restrictions that I've got, that tends to be my anti-air capability for an entire army. I'd love more. Can't really afford it. 2 of those and 2 of those, and that tends to work quite well. You'll notice 2 little attachments down here. Those 2 Helios actually came from an ether box set. I've not used the ether yet. I've not been able to quite fit it in, but they throw nano machines. You see the little Hy-Vee things there on the top of them. They throw little nano machines just like the Hades there. So that's kind of what they do. But I haven't quite found the points to put them on the field yet, so I will do. I'll definitely give them a go. So those are the support choices for the army. So next we'll go to the exotic choices. So here we have the Enigmatic Medusa, which causes a little bit of debate, I've noticed, in the community, whether they're too good or whether they're over or under pointed. I think that they're brilliant. I think 100 points for a single infantry model, they're probably fairly pointed. 40 points for a tooled up Triton X dropship as well. I think they're good. It is good. They're hard to hit. The Medusa is like a woman surfing on a wave of drones. She's really ace. She can do a lot. She can also heal. She can repair things like the Hades Mega Scorpions of Death. So she can do that, certainly. But She could also do, I think, 10 shots at strength 6. That's amazing, isn't it? And they can focus their fire too, so that's good. But by the time you're killing tanks, really, that's 2 or 3 shots again, which is all right for a 100-point model. And she's hard to hit, but she's hittable by kind of auxiliary weapons, anti-air weapons, machine guns on tanks and stuff like that. So I think she's killable. So stop complaining. Maybe I'm biased because I use her. I don't know. And she's pretty much an auto tank now for most armies I've got. Just because she does so much. Also, she is an infantry piece. She can go and pick up objectives in a building. There's a tip if you want to take her out. Just take the building down around her and cause lots of damage to her and in a building and take her out that way. She also has this natty little thing of if you don't close combat her, because I think she's only got kind of very basic CQB score, but she can help. She can add 5 dice to a base of infantry in battle, so that's also a nice little extra advantage she's got. So she is essentially a super siren, and these are the sirens of which she is super. The Siren Corps are an elite unit of women warriors, cybernetically enhanced. Well, I think all the post-human republic are cybernetically enhanced. That's their thing. But these women are extremely well trained, extremely well enhanced. I think a massive ×4, ×5 CQB rating, great dodge and saves, etc. When they're in combat and against falling masonry, etc. Very resilient, very resilient. Expensive, 100 points. Plus whatever it is for the Triton dropship that they use, I didn't used to take them. I used to take as much infantry as I could to cover as many objectives as I could, but I found myself being stomped on, to be honest, and either people with the Immortals will engage them directly with their own infantry and kill them, or they'll blow the building up around them, and then I'd lose them in a single turn. There's a lot of demolisher weapons out there now, so I'm finding sirens are becoming an auto take for me for infantry, expensive though they undoubtedly are, because they can loiter in a building and survive for a bit. Not long. There's only 3 of them per base, you'll notice. They've only got 3 damage points each, but they can loiter a bit longer, get an objective out of there, and you can run away with an objective when it's being attacked by a demolisher weapon with 1 or 2 of the people left on the base, and so you've got an objective. So there we go. They're very good. So I'm starting to take those more. So now we've got the Valkyries. These are another set of infantry. These are women. These are, it says in the fluff that they're kind of the ones that didn't make it to become a siren. I prefer to see them as sirens in training, but that's just the way I like to look at it. But these are women with submachine guns and jump packs, which I think is ace. That's a great thing. A great bit of story there. They're okay in close combat. I think they're as good as the Immortals, but that's not really their point. The jump packs allow them to be very mobile. They can cover more than one building, even if they're drops. I've got them here with Angelus, Skimmer, armoured personnel carriers. I just got them because I wanted the models, really. The Angelus themselves, I have trouble fitting into an army list with the points restrictions, but normally I've got these in a Triton. They go into a building, even the Triton gets destroyed. The Valkyries can still move from building to building, pick up objectives, get off a board with them because they've got a good movement rate. So I find them very flexible. So I tend to take those as well in most armies that I choose nowadays. So those are the Valkyries. I think they're a scouting unit as well. I think they're scouts. I think the Medusa and the Sirens are exotic. So so they're scouts. So the next scouting unit that we've got is the Mercury Drones. Now, these are funny little creatures. They've got no guns. I know. Did you hear that? Silence. No guns, commanders. None at all. They don't do a thing to you. What they do is they scan. They go to near a building or something, and they'll scan. There they are scanning, and then your Immortals or other infantry creep into the building and get a +1 to their search rolls. Yes, that's right. Or -1, however you look at it. But it makes it 1 better to find things when they're looking for objectives. How good is that, commanders? That is amazing. So, underrated perhaps. Quite cheap, though. They are scouts as well, so they can spot for indirect fire weapons, such as the Ether with its black nano machines, the Hades with its black nano machines, or indeed the missile tanks, the barrage and demolisher indirect fire tanks, the Thor and the Tyrannus. So they can spot for those as well. They act as scouts, so the normal minus to hit you get for firing indirect isn't applied, so that's quite good. So there's two things they do already. So spot for these guys. I think there's another kind of objective where I think you roll a dice. If you get 1, it blows up in your face, and it's a 2 to a 5. It's a piece of intel, you get a victory point. If it's a 6, you get an objective. Well, these also modify that dice roll. I think if you can re-roll it, I think if you get the 1, I mean, I guess you can re-roll any of the dice if you want to go for that objective, but really you're going to use it for the 1s, aren't you? So if the briefcase that you're looking for, computer terminal you're looking for, blows up in your face when you're looking for it, I believe that Mercury's allowed you to re-roll that. That's pretty amazing. I think that makes them worth their points straight off. So these guys, I love. They're one of the first things I choose. They do get this special dropship. It's a Triton with big Skyhammer missiles underneath it. Limited weapon, but it's just, I think, to make up for the fact you're paying points for a unit that doesn't actually hit anything. So you've got these Tritons, very zippy, very fast, 20 inches a turn. They can hide behind a building. They don't even have to see the target. Only the drones have to see the target, and they call in the missile, which I think is amazing. And that's a strength 10 or 11 missile, I think. So that's okay, I say. Apologies, commanders. Vital communication there from HQ had to be attended to. So yes, we just looked at the Mercury Drones as our next scouting unit. So go on to our third scouts contingent is the Janus Light Walker. There we are. Now, I don't often see these on the field used nowadays. I don't use them often. I do use them though. I do use them, but not often. The kind of role's been supplanted by other scouts. These used to be the only scouts that we got. Then we had the Valkyries, which are very useful. As I say, the very natty little Mercury Drones were invented, and they're also very good. These light walkers, perhaps, their role has been supplanted more by things like the Apollo fast walkers. So, yeah, maybe that's why they're not used, but they do have little advantages. They are a scouting unit, like the Mercuries and the Valkyries, so they can actually act as a sphere of influence for the command unit. The command units get to use command cards, as we are probably all aware, and they have a sphere of influence, or a lot of those cards have a sphere of influence of so many inches around the commander. Well, these act to create another bubble, another area of effect, another area within which command cards can be used when they require a sphere of influence to use. So they are still very useful. They, unlike the other scouting units, do also have an anti-air ability. It's not huge, it's 1 shot each, but it is shaped charge, strength 6 or 7, so it's all right, it's okay. Again, you probably have 4, maybe even 6 of them. I don't have 6, but I think you can have 6 in a unit to make best use of that. I tend to use them if I've got some points left in my army. I'll take a couple of them in the Triton dropship and use them for rooting out objectives in the field, either passing them off from infantry units that have got them that are under pressure, or if they're on the field, there's some, as I've noted, scenarios where objectives are on the field, as it were, in the streets, out of buildings. These guys could just land on them, have a look at them, and then whip off the board, the city, out of the city limits with them, and then get back into action without losing all the firepower or points of other units. So they can be useful. As I say, don't use them as much as maybe I once did, and it's a shame. Maybe I've got to say I would like to see them more. Maybe they're a little bit overpointed. I'm not sure. Again, I still tend to pop them in, and I do find a use for them. So there we go, that's the Janus. So those are the scouting units. So on to our last type of battle group is the air wing. Now, we here in the post-human republic only get access, the White Sphere has deemed one fighter bomber multi-role aircraft to be what we need, and they're amazing. I do love the models, but I can hear you, commanders. I can hear you, and I can hear you loud over the super layered, ultra encrypted Quanto Comfield. I can hear you shouting at me. Why two? Why two, Throatsol? What are you doing with two of these models? And to you, I say I like them. That's it, really. I do like them. Also, if I am buying two for an army list, I like to represent them with two models. I think that's cool. That's the way I like to do it. Really, at the moment, they just run a track across a cityscape, don't they? And then you react to them as they appear. Really, you need a piece of string rather than a model to do it. But I like to represent them properly. But I can still hear you. I can hear your critique. You're being very polite, so thank you for that. But I can still hear your critique, and you're shouting, "Oh my goodness, by the White Sphere itself, why would you ever buy two of them?" And okay, I understand that. You need a big army. You need 2,000 points at least, 2,500, maybe even 3,000 points to justify two of these things. They are, in themselves, very vulnerable. They are 135 points for 2 damage points worth of units of aircraft. And that's you've got to be a brave commander to use them like that. There are a lot of air units now that can really strike these guys down. They do get a special rule called Super Cruise, which lowers the accuracy by 1 of aircraft attempting to shoot at it. So you're probably at +3 to hit these things. But then you do get things like Zhukovs nowadays that hit on a 2. So it's 3, 4, 5. So hit on a 5, 2 of them, you're going to get 1. It's a devastator attack. It will knock one of these things out of the sky. So yes, they are, in my opinion, very vulnerable for 135 points. So you have to use them properly. They've got a good array of ordnance, and you just have to be careful about the track over which you fly them. So they do get used, but very occasionally, very occasionally. Now, in the second edition that we're seeing coming soon, hopefully in the 3rd quarter of this year, of 2017, Dave from Hawk Dave, as I call him, has told us he's going to make every unit usable, which is great, and he's going to change the mechanic for the use of flyers. So we're not going to be buying the model as such. We'll be buying attack runs with the model. So we'll be more sound, we'll be more confident in the use that we'll get for the points that we're paying, which sounds good to me. Sounds good. Also, it seems that they may be able to loiter for a turn on the cityscape in the battle zone to do more damage. And again, you get more time for your points. Now, I'm told this will make them more vulnerable if they're shot down, and it'll cost more victory points, more kill points. But then, to be honest, I never play for victory points. I play for the win. Kill points are kind of a tournamenty thing, really, to decide draws, and they're not really what I'm playing for. I like this game for its objective-focused mechanics, and that's why I love Dropzone probably as much as any game that I've played in the decades that I've been playing Wargames. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that mechanic, looking forward to a lot of the second edition stuff. And I've done a video on second edition stuff. I'll link that below. Go and have a look at that. I've had a chat with Warlord Craig about what's coming up in the second edition. So I won't bore you with that now, but go and have a look at that if you want to look at some of the changes that might be made. And then overall, thank you for coming with me and looking at my force today. There it is in review, as it were. If you've got any hints or tips on how to use this army, or you think there are some units that I should be buying more of, or so there are a couple of units I've not bought yet, like the Angelus with the Flamer. I've not bought that. I might get that. If you think I should get that, please tell me in the comments. Say for any hints or tips or strategies, I'd very much appreciate them. Now, if you want to click, if you've liked what you've seen, I'd really appreciate a click on that like button. And if you want updates on videos that are coming up, I've got a couple of battle reports. Hopefully this week I'll be doing battle reports again. Click subscribe, and there's, I think, a little button that you press for getting notifications. So thank you again for being with me today to look at the army. Keep dropping and commanding.